UAS 1A K5. This is the code that covers inspection, testing, and demonstration of compliance. So it's got, we got to have a couple different things that are not necessarily completely connected to each other. I mean, they are, but they aren't. Either way, this code covers a handful of different things, and we're going to go over these. So, in regards to what we're talking about here, if we're going to break these down, these talk about your pilot documents. These talk about the. This code also talks about the inspection of persons and equipment, and it also talks about Subpart D declaration of compliance stuff. Now, and I just kind of wrote it generically like that. What that is, Subpart D, Declaration of Compliance, that's referring to the section of the regulation that talks about flight over people. And there are different categories of aircraft that the drone can fall into, and the rules as far as flying over people will change with each one of those. I'm not going to go into the details on that because those are covered under a different code. However, two of them, categories 2 and 3, they each talk about something called a declaration of compliance. And that's what this is referring to. Okay. And I know that's what it is because it's specifically subpart D declaration of compliance, and subpart D is the part that talks about flight over people. All right, so let's look at these. First of all, let's look at the pilot documents and what it says about those. First of all, it says that uh, that the following is required for the RPIC, which is the remote pilot and command, the owner and the person flying while you are operating. So when you're out there doing your work, you have to have in your personal possession your pilot certificate, and you also have to have a government issued photo ID. Now, while you have to have these on your person, they also have to be presented for inspection upon request to the following persons. One is going to be is going to be the police or any other law enforcement. So, if you are out there working, and let's just say that somebody, you're doing a real estate shoot, and someone, maybe even a couple blocks down, doesn't know what's going on, and they call the police, and that will probably happen at some point in your career. If the police officer wants to see your ID, you do have to show it. You have to show your ID and your pilot certificate. Whatever he wants to see, you are legally obligated to present that while you are operating your aircraft. Um, they don't need any other reason other than to say, hey, let me see it. So you have to present it to police or other law enforcement, an authorized representative of the National Transportation and Safety Board, an authorized TSA rep, as well as to the administrator. And the administrator is the FAA. So should you have an FAA rep who happens to be on scene for one reason or another and they want to see this, yes, you have to show them your pilot certificate and the photo ID. All right. Additionally, you have to make available to the FAA upon request any document, any record, or any report if these documents, records, or reports are required for you to keep them. So, in other words, these don't have to be on your person. They can be back at home, they can be back in your office, but if the FAA wants them, you have to go get them and present them. And so, which records could we possibly be talking about here? The big thing that I would say to think about is your recertification training. So, under Part 107, you are required to do additional recurrency training every 24 calendar months. And with the way that it's currently being done, it's an online program. It's really simple. You'll print a certificate at the end, which shows that you are in compliance with that. You don't have to have that with you. You can leave it at home. However, you do have to have it so that way, if the FAA does state that they want it, you have to then be able to produce that document and show it to them. Okay, going on. So let's talk about the inspections of persons and equipment. What are we talking about here? Well, upon request of the administrator, and by the way, whenever the regulations say the administrator, that means the FAA. So, upon the request of the FAA, the following must be made available to the FAA. You need to make available to the FAA the aircraft and all of its systems. So we're talking about the whole drone. We're talking about the aircraft, the controller, all the other parts. You also have to make available the remote pilot in command himself, as well as the person manipulating the flight controls and the visual observer. So, and then the final thing that going back to that that subpart D compliance. Okay, remember this is that part. It's dealing with aircraft that have a declaration of compliance for flight over people. There's a lot more details in the codes that are going to talk about that, so I'm going to not go any further into it. But it says that if you are holding an FAA accepted declaration of compliance, you must make available to the FAA the following. You have to make available the actual declaration of compliance. You have to make available any documents or records that you are required to keep. You also have to make available the facilities, the data, and the witnesses, and I'm sorry, and the witness tests that were used to determine the compliance.